Casey Gray here, and you are listening to another episode of the Conscious Builder Show. And today we have Paolo Tiramani, I just want to make sure I pronounce that right, on the show with us, and he is with Boxable. He is the CEO, and Boxable delivers houses to site, which can be set up in one day, I think less than a day, like within hours, and they start at $250 per month or 50,000 US, and the specs are around 375 square feet. We're going to get into all the technical details of this folding house from what I've seen on the videos online. But maybe before we get into everything that Boxable does, Paolo, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better and tell us a little bit about your background and what ultimately brought you to building and being a part of Boxable.
Yeah, absolutely. And very nice to meet you. So my background is I have a couple of degrees in industrial design and mechanical engineering, and I ran a company that I started for a couple of decades, and all we did was invent and license that technology. And we did everything. We did automotive, medical, housewares. It was all over the place, and we had a very creative team, and we would sit around and we would find value, invent. It had to be defensible, add value to the marketplace. And the company did fairly well. I think we had 155, 160 patent filings, and they each cost, several hundred thousand. So I guess we had to do well to pay those bills. And over the course of that time, I think that we were looking at products that perhaps product category perhaps we could get into that was underserved and actually do some good as well. And over the years as we developed these products, we said to ourselves, if you're an accountant, if you're a CPA, you should be able to go into any business and count numbers. And if you are a technology company and inventors, we should be able to just turn our focus to a problem that's not being solved. So we really looked around, we looked at a couple of different market sectors, and housing just stood right up as effectively a pre-industrial product. I mean, everything we buy and consume today is used and built in a factory. There's no shortage of iPhones, there's no shortage of shirts. Everything's done in a factory. It's incredibly efficient. It's post-industrial, with the exception of building construction for the very obvious reason that they're big. And the factory solutions really weren't working very well. So we looked at that and said, you know what? This is a multidisciplinary problem. Let's dig in and see if we can slice up the problem pie, find effective solutions for all of the components, and actually bring something to the marketplace that can do some good and create a new product category. In the consumer product space, we would literally go to the store and say to ourselves, if we can push apart the shelves of the existing product and put a new product in that actually a new product category that doesn't exist, what that would be. And that's quite challenging. And in the construction space, that hole was already there, if you like, for us to fill. So that's some of the background. We had always harbored ambitions to become operators if we could find a space that was challenging enough, rather than an IP company that would license to others. So this seemed like a good segue to us. So over a period of about 5 or 6 years, we sold the licenses typically back to our licensees, and we moved operations from New York, and we brought several key guys out here, and now we're onboarding. We're out here in Las Vegas and Nevada, and we're onboarding staff as we prepare to bring Boxable, if you like, from 0 to 1. From a technology startup to an operating company. So that's a sort of a fast track of the origination of the idea to where we are, today on the starting blocks, if you like.
Right. So describe your house. So the product that you're developing, this Boxable, this home, describe it to us for those of us who, well, we can do a replay for anybody watching a video, and we can show some of these videos to people. But for those who are listening on the podcast, describe it in words. You know, what is it?
Absolutely. So perhaps I can describe it from the issues that we have to solve, and that sort of leads us by resolving all the various issues. It brings us to the product. So to build buildings in a factory, obviously there are factory solutions, but they ship a wide load. They're 14-foot wide, or they're compromised by being 8.5-foot wide. So they're not really effective modules for people to live in, and that's demonstrated by the fact that on the modular houses, trailer homes, things of that nature, they can't really ship more than a couple of 100 miles radius. It's not cost effective. And then the container homes, which is really not a product category, they're just too compromised to live in. So the first thing we had to do was to create something that could ship within our national borders and even outside our national borders for export. And that meant being constrained by highway and current infrastructure dimensions. So our Boxables are ship 8.5-foot wide, and from the tarmac to the roof, 13.5-foot tall. These were critical dimensions. But of course, a module that small in the field for an owner or a customer would be far too small. So we have the Boxables actually unpack. If you can imagine, like a very large box that just quite literally unpacks. And the metrics are pretty shocking, actually. We ship down the highway 8.5-foot wide, like any other big rig with a tractor trailer on the back. And from 8.5-foot wide, in the matter of about an hour, the Boxables unpack to really quite a shocking 20-foot wide. From 8.5-foot wide to 20-foot wide. And that's on the narrow dimension. The next challenge for us was the ceiling height. If we were to create really a new technology that could get traction in the marketplace and sell in high volume, we couldn't have these compromised low ceilings. So 8.5, 9-foot ceiling. A 9-foot ceiling is generous. Our ceilings are 9'6". We have 9'6" ceilings, very, very tall ceilings. So now some of those basic principles are starting to drop into place to have a building system that can build most things. So now if you can imagine going from 8.5-foot wide to 20-foot wide, you have a very wide room on the short side, lovely 9.5-foot ceiling, and we will be building these things out to 60-foot long. So that unpacks to 1,200 square feet and a 60-foot clear span. So those are some of the basic principles, and from there now we felt we had a basic building module, a basic building box that can unbox in the field to create most anything. From there, we filed about 18, I think 20, 24 now, mechanical patents, a tremendous amount of intellectual property. That's, my previous core business. I guess I can't help myself. And we said, okay, great. This looks like the beginnings of a great technology as a building material. It's very, very abstract, very difficult for that to get traction. So we came up with the idea to take our building technology and configure it, do a configuration into a retail product. And we looked around. We're here on the West Coast. We moved here for this company, and there is a tremendous need for affordable, smaller homes. And so the Casita was born. So the Casita is 20-foot by 20-foot with a 9.5-foot ceiling. They're very, very compact. They're perfect for backyard casitas, and because they, especially in California, they've changed the regulations where you can have these small backyard homes. The Casita product configuration, I should say, just like all of our Boxables, packs down to 8.5-foot wide, so you can bring it down a residential driveway and set it up in a backyard. And that gave us that gives us sort of the principle of that first product. And then the Casita itself as a configuration, even though it's a small space, about 20 by 20, about 400 square feet. If we look at some of the interior visuals, we are designers, we are industrial designers and architects, and it had to be beautiful and it had to be quality living. Just because it's small doesn't mean everything should be full size and everything shouldn't be high quality. So by that I mean our windows are 8 foot tall, they're 3 foot wide, our doors are 8 foot tall, and if I can take a moment to count them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows that are 8 foot tall and 2 doors in a 400 square foot space with a 9.5 foot ceiling. So it's just flooded with light. So the basic bones of the building when you walk in are absolutely fantastic. And then if you can imagine looking down on the Boxable, it's basically a square Lego. And if you divide that in two with an X in the middle, it's bifurcated twice into 4 pieces. A bedroom area, a living room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. And we left it very open plan, so your eyes go to the back corners of the space, and when you're in the space, it's really very comfortable, very generous feeling. So that's the principle of the Casita.
Now, my mind's going to construction. Like, I love the idea. You basically roll this home up, and either you lift it into a backyard, or you roll it, or you drop it wherever it needs to go. But there obviously needs to be a foundation too. Where we live, it's a little bit different than there. But what's required before the Casita, in this case, shows up on site?
Right. So that's a terrific question. So if I can just take a side road just to traditional construction. Traditional construction typically needs a slab or a foundation or a concrete skirt upon which to put traditional walls that are stick built with wooden sticks essentially, and the foundation supports the home above it in traditional construction. With Boxable, we actually have no functional requirement for a foundation. The panels themselves have such structural integrity, it can be minimally held up in the 4 corners. However, that doesn't meet today's current building codes, to which we must and are happy to comply. So it can sit down on any foundation, and we recommend the least expensive foundation that your township or your state allows. So that means it can go down on a slab, it can go down on posts, and we provide plates that permanently affix it to the foundation. So it goes down just like any other home on a regular foundation. In our lab here, we have an R&D lab behind me with some of the Boxable products, and we have one unpacked. It's out of the view, actually can't see it, and that is held up just in the 4 corners. And if you were to walk in that and jump up and down, nothing flexes. There's nothing underneath. So it's definitely overperforming in terms of what's needed.
How do you connect the plumbing and the electrical? Electrical could be done easier, but I'm more concerned, like, if you have your toilets and everything, where does that plumbing get connected to into the system, whether it's a septic or to the municipality?
Yeah, great. So all of our mechanicals, electric, waste, water, all port out to one corner of the unit, and it would be just like a traditional home that you just connect as you would to any other home, to any other building lot, or the same way any other home would connect. And then internally we have a gas cooker. Folks seem to prefer that. And on the heating and cooling, we're using mini splits. If your viewers aren't familiar with that, it's somewhat similar to automotive air conditioning. Unlike the HVAC with the ducts that can carry mold and make people sneeze, this has none of that. And they're very easy to add and remove mini splits to create the temperature that's required for each room. And the rest of the plumbing is auto code and, fairly traditional. With good architecture, you tend to back all your water elements to one side of the structure. And we've done that. The kitchen is next to the bathroom, and everything ports to one corner for traditional hookup.
Do you have anything with regards to like a fresh air system? I don't know what the codes are there, but at least where we build here in Canada, we deal with extreme heat and extreme cold. So we would things need to be heated in the winter and cool, but we also focus a lot on air tightness. So I guess two questions. Have you put any testing or done any testing with regards to how airtight the units are when they're set up? And if so, do you also have like a fresh air system like an ERV or an HRV?
Yeah. So on the recirculation of air, I know that we meet all the codes for the different states. Specifically for each individual states, I don't have that level of information at hand right now. In terms of the ceiling, CEILING, these are almost sort of vacuum pressure chambers, if you like. They're so well sealed. When our walls come together, they have gaskets in them. Each wall end has two gaskets, similar to the gaskets in your car when you open the door and you see the rubber gasket. These things shut down like a bolt. They're very, very thermally efficient. You can think of it as sort of a thermos or an igloo cooler, depending on whether you want to stay warm or cold. But they're very thermally efficient. Our wall panels have no thermal bridging. Thermal bridging, for your viewers, is traditional wall has 2x4s along its length, and that bridges the inside to the out and allows heat or cold to conduct. And we don't have any of that, so our walls are very thermally efficient.
So one of the things, like when you make a home that airtight, you'll definitely want to ventilate them, in the building science that we do, in the high performance homes that we do. So for example, like if you have a gas range hood, I'm assuming a gas range, you typically have a range hood to exhaust that.
Yeah.
But one of the concerns, which might not be a big concern where you are, but when you turn that fan on, that air gets sucked in from somewhere, right? Because it has to. If it's leaving the house, it has to come in from somewhere. Same with the bathroom fan. So we try to eliminate some of those things. If there's a gas range, we can't eliminate that. But that's where the fresh air system comes in, like that HRV and ERV. And it's actually required by code here in Ontario. I don't know what the state building codes are. It's a little bit different. Ontario has a pretty good building code. But those would be things that I know would come up for people that would be coming to us, for example, for building. So is that something, are you planning on being able to ship, outside of the US? I believe you are.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, it's a big world with a lot of codes. We have 50 codes here, and we're slowly working our way through all of our certifications. And we're dealing, within our national borders for the moment. But the plan is, of course, to ship globally, actually, and even have franchise factories outside of the country as well as the business grows.
And have you shipped any, or are you still raising funds and doing your getting the business set up?
So we haven't shipped any. We've shown the product 3 years now. It's evolved from the construction technology, and just this last February, 2 years actually, just this last February, we showed the Casitas. We've taken I think over 2,000 orders with deposits. I think there's probably 7 or 8 times that without deposits. We just received a Department of Defense order from the DoD, obviously, and for I think about 155, 160 homes that we'll be delivering to a military base on the East Coast in 11 months. So it's keeping us rather busy. So that'll be a terrific first trial. We're standing up 120, 130,000 square foot first manufacturing factory to produce the homes.
Wow, that's great. So yeah, I'd love to know how the first test goes, right, with people living in them and what works and what doesn't work, right? Because there's always things that there's I always tell people, even the homes that we do, there's theory and then there's reality. In theory it should work like this. In reality, this is what happened. So this is what we had to do to fix it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe it works out better sometimes, right? So that's always a possibility as well.
And we've learned some of those things as well. For example, the model that we showed in February, we built it and then we put the bed in, and we realized, for example, that we actually knew this, and then we said leave it in, and we saw there was a window behind the bed. You don't want a window behind the bed, so we deleted that, and we built the sample with just one door. There was always a plan to have two doors, for example. So these are some of the tweaks I think you're referring to. Mm-hmm. Our production model will have a door in the front and a door in the back, so that if you have a small backyard, it really gives a tremendous feeling of openness. If you don't, even though it's only 400 square feet, you can have a back door to a backyard. I think that really makes it feel like a true home. And as you can imagine, space planning on something that's 400 square feet becomes all important.
Yeah, absolutely. Smarter use of the space. Are these units stackable? Like, are you going to be able to stack them up and do 2 or 3 story homes?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. Absolutely, building technology. So we right now we're able to stack 3 high. We think once we're through our certs, we're through all of our certifications, we will actually be able to stack these 6 or 7 high, which is really quite shocking. And I think it's going to be terrific. For the Casita itself, we are already working on a 2nd story. It's really quite beautiful, actually. Customers, homeowners that buy the Casita will have a choice to grow their Casita. They can go sideways, of course, mm-hmm. and remain 1 story, but they may not have the side yard, or they would have to add to their existing pad. Going up has a lot less challenges. So we will have an upgrade kit that allows a 2nd story to be put on, if you can imagine that, with an internal stair. So then the studio space, I'll call it, in the existing Casita, which combines the living and the sleeping, can turn into a full living area. And then going up the stair, you will have a very large walk-in closet, a very large bathroom, and a really nice bedroom. And it makes really a fantastic 2-story townhouse. And I'll add one more thing, that with the 2020 footprint, that is, a standard parking space is 9 by 18. So that 2020 is effectively 2 standard parking spaces. So we will be able to go up to 3 stories, where you can have a townhouse home, where you can park 2 cars, go up the stairs to your 1st story, and then up the stairs one more time to your bedroom. And if you can imagine, back to that backyard Casita scenario, if you have parking, you can actually straddle a Casita that would be a 1-bedroom, 2-story home with 2-car parking underneath. You can straddle that over your existing driveway, and you've net zero on your footprint. And so we've got a couple of really nice scalability options coming for customers, and that's to answer your question, just going up vertically.
Yeah. Now, what kind of warranty would you be offering as part of this? I know, like, there's warranties, it depends on the home builder and where you build. Like, there's certain things that are required by law. Like, for example, here in Ontario, as a builder, we have to provide Tarion, which is a 7-year home warranty. It's third party, but we have to be a registered Tarion builder in order to build homes. Is this something that would be applicable to Boxable? And if not, would you be providing your own warranty with your products?
Yeah, no, 100%. The warranty is very important. That's part of the providing a responsible product. Oftentimes if you custom build a home and you get the plumber and the electrician and the masonry guy in, and then they scatter to the four corners and you can't find them, and good luck with the warranty. One of the nice things about buying a Boxable is there's Boxable standing behind your home. So we'll have a 30-year warranty as standard, and we're looking at some items even being lifetime. So it's something we're very conscious of. We're building these things to stand up effectively forever. That's the goal.
That's great. Sounds like you're definitely.
If I could say just one more thing on that. Unlike a traditional home, these are, these are basically steel and a form of ceramic concrete homes with insulation material. So those materials don't burn too well. The ceramic concrete is rated non-flammable. There's almost no fiber in the building. There's no wood in the building to speak of, really. So there's no wood. There's no noticeable amount of wood to rot or swell. There's nothing that termites can eat in the product. There's nothing they can feast on. So when it comes to sort of water and termites and fire, it's all superior to what's currently on the market. And then the panels themselves are essentially, they're one piece. So there's nothing really to flex or warp. That's why we can be very bullish on our warranty.
What's the R value of the walls? Like how much insulation and what is the material?
Right. So I actually don't have the R value at my fingertips. I apologize for that. And then the construction is these are laminate panels that we make in one piece. So, for example, these are a wall panel would be 20 foot wide by 9.5 foot tall. 20 foot wide by 9.5 foot tall, and that is made in one piece in layers. The outer layer is galvanized steel with an exterior, so it's not going to rust, with an exterior coat of paint. Insulation material. The insulation material is pre-chased, so it's chased about every 30 inches or so. So there's a network, a hidden network inside the walls to run anything you want in terms of electrical lines and things of that nature, which allows you to put outlets on the floor, the walls, the ceilings. Very, very flexible. The insulation material, another layer of galvanized steel, and then the interior lining is the non-combustible ceramic concrete board. This all gets pressed together in a press with about 250,000 pounds of pressure to create one solid panel. The panels, it's actually a robotic assembly for the panels that we can make very, very quickly. That's the general construction. And then there's a 3D printed perimeter, a vinyl perimeter that captures everything and holds the gaskets. And in certain areas we embed steel for some of the hinging elements for the boxing and unboxing. So, fairly sophisticated, but the end result actually has, dozens of components instead of, probably 1,000 components in a traditional wall. Well, that's probably, 950 components less to go wrong.
Right. Now, when the Casita gets unfolded, can you tell when it's set up that it was a house that was, that came kind of in a box that had to be expanded? Is there noticeable defect, or not defects? Is there noticeable things that tell you that, or do all those things get hidden?
Yeah, that's great. So these are panels, and then that basically unbox or unfold, and there are hinges, but the hinges are completely hidden. So when you're standing inside the Casita, it looks 100% like a traditional home. We have smooth white walls that are very precise, that meet up in the corners with no extra anything. There is a baseboard, a 4-inch baseboard along the perimeter, and the exterior would be the same as well. There are corner caps on the exterior. There's nothing to tell you that this house can unpack and actually pack back down.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you've definitely thought of everything, and you'll probably learn more as you start to do a lot of these test homes. So I'm looking forward to seeing the growth and how this unfolds for you. No pun intended. But yeah, any requests or asks of our viewers and our listeners?
I think the general message that we have is we're looking to change an industry here on a very large scale. It's a very ambitious project. The goal is to dramatically lower the cost and the speed and the availability for regular homeowners. We are for profit. We're not a charity, but we are good works. We are good works. The point of the project is to have reasonable margins and bring to market product at a price that homeowners really will be very shocked, at a quality that is on par with any other product out there because it's built in a factory. We are in the process of going from 0 to 1, is when you go from a startup to operational. We're putting up a very significant factory. It's the smallest factory we can put up, and it's still absolutely massive. We are here in Las Vegas, in North Las Vegas, and any of your viewers that would like to visit, come on down, check us out, and of course follow us at Boxable.com. The news is coming thick and fast and faster all the time. So definitely an exciting period for the company.
Well, Paolo, thanks again, and thank you for putting yourself out there and taking business is definitely your experience, but it's risky, right? So there's a lot at stake, and it's not a small task at hand. So thank you for doing that and leading this in the industry.
Thank you. I appreciate this, Doris.
Thanks for watching another episode of the Conscious Builder Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel here. We have a lot of exciting projects on the go, a lot of things happening, including our first official series, A 3-Day Cottage, which we have started recording, and you can watch some teaser videos right now.